You're listening to CDKL5 in color. I'm Marissa, and on this podcast, I'm joined by my co host Amanda and sometimes some very special guests to talk all things CDKL5 deficiency disorder. It's a rare genetic condition caused by changes in the CDKL5 gene. Patients with this condition often experience profound developmental disabilities, difficult to control seizures that start in infancy, cortical visual impairment, and a variety of other health concerns. It's a challenging condition, but we know that by sharing our stories, we can raise awareness, provide support, and paint pictures of our community that can lead to greater understanding and meaningful change for families like ours. Let's jump right in.
Hi, Amanda.
Hey, Marissa.
How are you?
I am jazzed to be talking about clothing with you today.
I know. I think it's a fun topic. There are so many places to get adaptive clothing. Adaptive clothing is a term, it's like relatively new, right? Maybe the past 10 years or so, but really the past 5 years, it's really kind of taken off adaptive clothing.
Obviously, when our kids are smaller, it's a lot easier to find clothing that fits their needs. I think until your kid grows a little bit and you kind of deviate a little bit from what a typical kid might be wearing, you don't think about adaptive clothing. And the world has changed in a way that has responded to the need for this stuff. And I encourage people to use that terminology when you're searching or looking at stores, because there's a lot more stuff than I imagine out there.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like it used to be you'd have to find a special company or a special maker to get something that was adaptive. And of course, it was very, very expensive.
Yeah.
But now we see, like, even Target has an adaptive line.
Mainstreamed clothing for, and not just kids like ours, even adults who live at home alone in wheelchairs, right?
Yes.
I mean, like that need help, like just getting shoes on or off, or people with artificial limbs. There's all kinds of reasons you may need help putting your shoe on.
Yeah. Even like Ralph Lauren has some adaptive clothes with like the magnetic snaps.
Oh, yeah. So you don't have to do your fine motor. Yeah. Yes.
But for our kids, I think it's fun to share some options because it gets talked about in our support group. Like, where are you finding X, Y, and Z? So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's do shoes first. Where do you buy shoes for Ava?
I pretty much stick to the Billies, and they actually have a boot line that has a little heel on it that Ava does very well in, that comes up over her ankles because she tends to like to roll and sensory seek. So they've been a really good option for us.
And you said they have a little heel. The Billies have a little heel. Wow, I've never seen those.
It's a boot line, yeah. We can link the style, but there's a couple different colors even.
Do you get them in the women's, like Billy's women's, or do you buy them kids?
I mean, I can do like the smallest women's size, but I usually for her do the largest kid size, which is like a 4.5. I don't think there's a lot of difference between the largest kid size and the smallest women's size. And Billy is very good at putting the dimensions of the shoes on their website. So dig in if you're not sure what size or if orthotics or something are going to work, because they do give you very precise measurements for their sizing.
Yeah, we do Billies too. And Target actually sells Billies also. So the Billies that you could get at Target are less expensive, but my understanding from, well, and my personal experience too, and my understanding from other parents is that they're slightly less quality too. So if you have somebody who doesn't walk, it doesn't matter. My husband likes to say, Gregory's got the cleanest shoes around. But so we usually get the Target Billies because they're cheaper, and it seems like every year he's getting new orthotics because he just keeps growing, and we're having to then buy new Billies, and Billies are not cheap. I think when you get them on retail, they're like $75, even $50, $75. Like,
well,
it's a lot for kids' shoes.
It is, but Billy's does also do some sales a couple times a year. So get on their website and watch for those sales. I agree that I've heard all of that about Target, and I just don't. Target normally doesn't have the type of Billy shoe that I need for her anyhow. So I do get some good deals on the sales though. And oftentimes I am buying shoes that are like wintertime shoes in the spring, getting like the clearance deals and just putting them in the closet till next year because her feet haven't grown forever.
Yeah. No, you got to pay attention to the sales. That's good advice.
Yeah.
Like, get them off season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that there is another style of shoe that works well with orthotics that I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I'm going to ask my friend whose daughter wears them. They're really cute. So if Billy's is not the style for you, they look like sandals. They're also very expensive, but they work for AFOs for your orthotics, and they're pretty stylish. So I will
Yes,
find the name
they're
of that.
and if you are going to an orthotist, they should have some good suggestions for shoes as well. Normally, they're pretty good at giving good advice.
Yeah. And sometimes you can even get shoes directly from them. They may not be the most attractive shoes, but I
Yeah,
have
and
heard
you know
that.
what? And there's one other thing. When Ava was small before Billy's, they have this shoe. It's called Play, Plae.
Mm.
And Plays come in wide. They're similar to Billy's, but they don't have a zip. They're very much were designed for orthotics, and I think they are strictly a kid shoe.
Mm.
I have some snow boots from Billy's for Ava as well, but sometimes those are my bigger challenges. Is like, how do I keep her feet warm and dry?
Yes. Keeping our kids' feet warm in the winter, I think, is a challenge a lot of us have. That's one thing I do like. So Gregory wears AFOs, so the orthotic goes all the way up under his knee. And I actually like it because in the wintertime, it feels like an extra layer of something, so he wears the big AFO socks too. They're called Smart Knit. So they have no seams. They just look like a big tube of sock, and they go all the way up to his knee past his orthotic. And I feel like in the wintertime, it's a nice extra layer of warmth for him. But sometimes I'll take his shoes and socks and orthotics off when he gets home from school and his feet are a little chilly.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to get them warm. One thing that we have in the winter is a blanket that I ordered special on Etsy. And I'll actually put the link in the show note. The woman was very nice. It's like a pocket blanket, kind of. I put his legs in. They're completely 360 wrapped with a blanket. And then there's extra fabric on the top that sits over his lap like a blanket. And it's very warm. And I like that better than the ponchos. Like a lot of people use the ponchos where they go over their head and it's like a long blanket. That never covers your feet.
Well, and also we use a stroller, like a push chair. Sitting in that chair, it's cold. It's cold underneath. Putting a blanket over is not enough. There has to be something under her to try to keep her warm. For socks, we don't need tall socks, but I'm going to have to look for seamless socks because I haven't really put a lot of thought into that.
Seamless socks. I feel like they make a lot of those now for kids who have like the sensory profile. What about clothing? Where do you usually shop for clothing for Ava?
My mom buys a lot of Ava's clothes. It's like what she does. She's always thinking about it. Macy's is the place where a lot of Ava's clothes come from. And we bounce back and forth between juniors, and Ava also does well in like petite women's clothing. In general, she wears the same clothes as, whoever else is shopping at Macy's or Target.
So she doesn't necessarily use adaptive clothing.
No, but I do have to have, I'm not buttoning. I'm not dealing with buttons. So it needs to be like an elastic waistband. I'll also shout out to Costco. If you just look around in Costco, sometimes you're like, oh, wow, here's a very, nice piece of clothing that's not real expensive. Those are kind of the three places. And her pajama bottoms, I think my mom's a big Walmart shopper for those pajamas that have the bottoms that are, I guess you call it cuffed.
Yeah.
So that the legs aren't open because she trips. I tried also to keep it not very tight on her legs because I know at school, and there's a way you can change a brief without pulling pants or shoes off, and you have to loop it back through and under it. And I'll actually find a video to drop.
Yeah, find a video
this.
so we can link it because that is wild.
So we don't, and even if they don't, if it's too hard for them, just taking off one shoe and one pant leg is much easier to change.
That's really interesting because we don't have that experience at all. I do have to think about bulk with Gregory's diapers. I usually stick to sweatpants or drawstring pants, everything with an elastic waist, of course. Mm-hmm. But I usually will get him one pair of jeans a year that I'll pull out for like holidays to take pictures and things like that. But finding jeans that will go up over the diaper has gotten a little bit more tricky. So sometimes I'll get like a husky size. And when Gregory was a baby, I used to order a lot of his clothes from Carter's. And Carter's actually goes up to like size 14, I think. So I'm still ordering his clothes on Carter's.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have great sales. So I'll order the drawstring pants, and I actually prefer the ones that are not tapered at the bottom. I prefer the ones that are open at the bottom because they're easier to get up over his AFOs. Every day, Gregory wears a onesie underneath his clothing, and I get those adaptive onesies at Kohl's, and I'll put the link for those below too. They have abdominal access for tube feeding. They have snaps for diapering. Yeah, I've always continued to put him in a onesie. And one thing I really like about it is because he's on a continuous feed through the J, he has a GJ tube, so he's on a continuous feed. He always has an extension in a tube coming off of his body. So what I like to do is make sure it's always tracking in the same direction, because unlike a G tube that you can spin like an earring, and you should spin so that, for skin breakdown and everything, you should make sure it's got lots of air and moves good. You can't spin a J tube because it's placed into the small intestine. It can't be spinning around because it could come out of where it needs to be. So you don't want it to move. So I like to track the extension always going the same way. And these Kohl's onesies are awesome because they have snaps up the side and across the abdomen. So I run it in between the same two snaps.
Oh, so it's secured.
It always stays where it needs to go. And those from Kohl's go up to size 20. So I'm hoping that, Gregory's somebody that you have to lay down to change, because he can't stand or whatever.
Yeah.
So to me, having a onesie isn't a big deal because you're having to lay him down to change anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're lifting and moving him, it's so nice to have that bottom onesie, that bottom shirt. It's almost like an undershirt, keeping his skin covered, because the shirt's right up. You're trying to lift him, the shirt's right up, His belly's never exposed. He's never cold, doing stuff like that because he's always got the onesie on underneath. So.
Well, and for behavior, some of our kids like to put their hands in their pants, and some parents deal with that behavior with onesies. Some people make onesies that are long, that go down like around your knees and stuff like that, that it gives them more of a challenge to play in the diaper. There's nothing wrong with a onesie. For years, for sensory, she wore a compression garment called a SPIO. It stands for Stabilizing Pressure Input Orthosis. I guess the best way I describe it is like wearing a swimming suit 2 or 3 sizes too small, and that really helped her keep some of her sensory seeking behaviors minimized.
Yeah. Would a compression garment work the same or not?
That's what a SPIO is, a compression garment. It is just a specific type.
I've noticed that even on Amazon, you can type in adaptive clothing or onesies or bodysuits, and they have all sizes, all lengths. There's a lot more available now commercially than there was even like 5 years ago when I was starting to look at this stuff. When Gregory outgrew the Gerber size 5T, and now I'm like, what the heck am I going to do now? I feel like there's a lot more options out there than there were those years ago.
I agree.
So in terms of other adaptive clothing for Gregory, that's really the bulk of it. Otherwise, he pretty much can wear what everybody else is wearing.
I have to think about jackets and coats for Ava. I have to think about something that you can put on and take off of her easily. She assists to some degree, but also sometimes not. So taking it on and off easily, and then it's still being warm, like not so big that it's not warm and not so small that it's a pain. So I do have to put some thought into the coats that she's wearing. It's just more of like, that's not going to work. That jacket doesn't work because the inside's going to pull out every time I take it off of her. Ava is a oral kid, so oftentimes she's wiping her mouth or chewing on her coat. And so what can get wet can get dry, or it can be wet on the outside that's not soaking her up.
When Gregory, for wearing coats, there was a couple years ago, I did purchase some adaptive wheelchair coats. So they come in 2 pieces. The back stays in the chair and you put the kid in, and then you put the sleeves on and it connects to the back. That worked okay. I didn't love it. Gregory gets really sweaty in his chair, even in the winter. Like his back gets really sweaty. So, and he doesn't he'll go out for recess and they'll put his coat on, but normally he's indoors. So if we're going like from our house to our van to go to school, a lot of times I'll just put his coat on him backwards and not have nothing on his back because his back is hot against the chair anyway. Just for that short trip. It's hard with like winter coats, the puffy coats, to try and be contained in a chair. It's almost the same thing as You don't put a coat on a baby in a car seat because then the strap isn't close enough to protect them in an accident. You got to think about
Yep.
how much loose under his strap is and that kind of stuff. So that's part of why I also really like the blanket, because I feel like it gives him the extra warmth. I always put a hat on him too. He'll wear a hat. He won't pull a hat
Yeah.
off. What about swimwear? Do you
Well,
do anything different for swimwear?
we at one point got, and I think they market it for CP, but we got her like this. It's a suit to get into the pool. One, it's got some buoyancy to it, but two, it keeps you a little bit warm. Like it keeps your body warm when you're in a swimming pool as well. And the diaper can go under that. Also, I have something like to hold on to more. It's a little bit buoyant and it's not slip. It's hard for me. It's one of the most stressful things I do is go in a pool with Ava. Water is not my favorite
Yeah.
thing.
Now, when
So,
you do swim diapers with her, do you get the disposable ones?
mm-mm.
You have a
And I
reusable
will
one.
link them
That's what
as
we have.
well. I have, it's almost like silver or blue looking. Is that what
Yeah.
yours is like? Yeah.
I get ours on Amazon, so I'll link ours too, but I want to see yours. We use a reusable swim diaper. If he has a bowel movement in the water, it's just the worst. I don't know how else
Yeah.
to say it. It just, you hope it's not going to happen. And then if it does happen, it's just, it is what it is, but it's like gross. But in
Yeah.
terms of like swimwear, I get these one piece swimsuits for him that are like t-shirt, one piece shorts, because he's got to be on his feet, especially if we're going to be in the water for a long time. So I run his extension down in the same direction and then
Hmm.
out the little knee leg, and he'll go swimming like that. So those are the types of swimsuits I like
Types
for
of
him.
swimsuits. It might almost be like, to describe what I'm describing, it's almost like a wetsuit.
Yeah,
But
kind
it's,
of.
it's like
Yeah.
thermal in some senses. So, I mean,
Yeah,
a pool is okay, but it can be cold. If you're not moving your body and doing the things, and there you are just sitting, if you're not in a
totally.
warmer pool, it's like not a
Right.
good experience either. So,
I know having Gregory has changed the way I dress myself. Has having Ava changed how you get dressed?
yes, I need clothing that's practical. I feel like a bum sometimes, but I very rarely am wearing something that's not more of a, athletic wear. I guess is the best way to say it. I wear a lot of athletic wear. It's just whatever is most convenient and whatever I'm up to that day. If I have to clean or, do things like that, it might dictate what I'm wearing in addition to caring for her. My life that's like such a total change from before. And I don't think it's just kids. I think it's just more having a kid where you're caretaking all the time. And I mean, there's days I'm lucky to get a shower in 48 hours, and that's just the way it rolls. So I dress for comfort.
Yeah. No, me too. I think the days of being a working person who would leave my house every day and have workwear are long gone. And all of that stuff, one, doesn't fit anymore. And two, is not practical. It's really physical to be a caregiver. And
Hmm.
Gregory is 75 pounds and I lift him multiple times a day and I get hot and I get sweaty, and it could be winter and I'd have a t-shirt on in the morning. It's classic, like getting him ready for school, doing all the things to get him ready, all the movement of, it's physical getting him dressed.
Yeah.
The reaching and the lifting
Hmm.
and the pulling and the turning and the rolling and
Yep.
it's it's not a
It's a
workout.
lot.
I'm not going to say it's a workout because Lord knows I should work out more, but it is physical. And most days when I'm pushing him out the door to bring him to school, I've got sweat rolling down my forehead. Like I'm hot and I don't want to be in jeans sweating. So,
No. No. And, I have to be careful. Ava is like some of her behaviors are like at swiping, like even my glasses. Like if she's mad or she's a swiper, you can't wear things around your neck. I don't wear rings. I don't wear jewelry like that. I don't wear anything around my neck. And any shirt I have has to be able to take her grabbing a hold of my shirt and quickly. Like her hands work very quickly when she's motivated to do something, which is kind of, think about that. I mean,
Mm-mm.
none of us do. It catches all of us by
No.
surprise still. So I also have to be aware of like what is safe for me to wear for her. And, I'm transferring her, she's 115 pounds. She likes to take a bath. We're back to the water and wetness and transfers in and out of tubs. I help her stand up. She pulls up to stand and she has to get over. We have a fairly big lip on our bathtub. if she slips or does something, she's grabbing for me. I have to be prepared for her to get a hold of something on me and me to be able to do my thing. So if it's some tank top that's going to come rolling down my arm, I don't feel safe sometimes because, I don't want her to go slipping off from grabbing onto me. I'm
Right.
always keeping that in mind.
That's
Like,
so true. I don't wear any necklaces. I mean, Gregory won't purposely grab something, but he flails when I try and move him just because he feels unsteady. He feels
mhm.
unsteady in his environment. He's flailing. And yeah, he'll get caught on anything. I never wear rings or anything like that because you're too close. Like it's too easy to scratch him or get caught on something. Yeah, I don't have any of that stuff either.
Well, and it was a hair puller. Even when we meet new people, she does a lot of horse riding. And so new sidewalkers or volunteers come and we do some work on something called an equicizer before we put her on a horse. And so somebody's on the other side, like assisting the therapist as he's doing what he needs to do. And I'm always like, no badges, nothing even on like name tags. Brent takes his name tag off her PT because she grabs onto that. Hair back. Like if your hair is down, she is going to get a hold of it. And she's smart about it. She waits till you're not paying attention and then we can't, then we're doing handholds to get
I
her to
hear you.
release.
Gregory does the same thing. He
Yeah.
doesn't do it on purpose, but if he gets tangled, if he gets near your hair, he'll
Hmm.
clench his fist.
Yeah.
And it is hard to pry it
It's
open.
hard to pry it open. Yeah. I think about it a lot more when we come across people, even I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't bend over with that happening. Like, don't let her get your necklace. I don't have money to replace that diamond. But some people I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't wear that. If you're assisting her, like, ooh, I would think twice about that. I think the one thing that is worth mentioning is you will eventually, if you have a girl, need a bra or something just from a dignity standpoint, especially in school. I actually am kicking around trying the cakes with her. It's not sticky, it adheres to your skin, it's not uncomfortable, and like you really don't know they're on after a while. People are picking her up and down, and I hate it when I get home and like her sports bra is halfway up her chest. It
Oh
has
my
to be
gosh.
uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
And she can't do anything about that. And they put gait belts on her at the school. So there's sometimes something wrapped around her body to keep her steady while she's walking. So I don't want to end the episode without that little thought. You'll know when it's time, but like we couldn't get away with not having a bra on. I don't think in our society anyways.
Good. Well, I'm glad we could chat about this topic. It was fun. I hope people will share in the comments or reply to our posts on social media with if they have favorites or
Yeah.
stores that they really love. We'd love to hear it and be able to share with the rest of
Yes.
the community. Well, it was nice to talk to you, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun to see you today.
Thanks for listening. We hope you'll follow us on social media at CDKL5 in color on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and visit us online at www.cdkl5incolor.com. Have questions or a topic you'd like us to chat about? Would you like to be a guest on our podcast? Email us cdkl5incolor@gmail.com, and we'll be in touch. Until next time.